All right, welcome. Welcome. Today we are here as part of our Talent Talks series. We decided that with unemployment hovering around 3% and the number of people in the workforce currently declining, that this would be a hot topic for many of our members. We want to make sure that everyone's staffed up for success, and sometimes that means thinking beyond your normal patterns. So, today we're going to talk about the benefits of hiring persons in recovery. And we hear from some employers that when persons in recovery are supported appropriately, they can be some of your most successful hires. So, that's our topic. And today we are sponsored by our friends at Express Employment Professionals. And Emily Bogue is going to say a word. She's a business development specialist who works in this market. Emily, would you unmute and just give us a welcome?
Yeah. Hey, good morning, everyone. We're super excited to be sponsoring this series with the Chamber. And thank you, Cindy and the Chamber, for putting this on. We're super passionate about all things talent and people. And so this fit right in with what we do in our mission of inspiring hope for people looking for jobs. So we've worked with about 85 companies last year. We've been in Columbus since 2014, and we are currently, we've been in the light industrial business, and we're currently expanding that into our specialized recruiting group, which we're rebranding this year. It's been part of what we've done, but we're rebranding it this year, and we've got 6 professional recruiters and a team of 10 light industrial recruiters that help support South Central Indiana. So we're excited to be here, and thanks for having us.
Thank you for the partnership. So, the Alliance for Substance Abuse and Progress is a strategic partnership to combat substance use disorder in our county. And today we're going to hear from Nathan Walsh, who is the director of the ASAP Hub. And he's going to just kind of give us a high level introduction to some of the services that ASAP offers and some of the approaches to connect persons with employment. Nathan, will you take it away?
Hey, Cindy, it's Doug Leonard. I was going to make a couple of introductions of our staff that'll be
Oh, that
here.
would be
That's okay.
fantastic, Doug.
All right,
Thank
great.
you.
Well, thanks for having us. And I'm the executive director of ASAP. And hopefully you have some awareness of ASAP. It's our mission to address the substance abuse issues in the community, as Cindy said. We do that in a number of ways. We have the hub, a physical facility where we can greet people who walk in and are referred to us or call in, and we provide a number of resources and referral opportunities to them. We can help people get into treatment. We can help them get health insurance and provide everything from clothes, food, transportation, housing, etc., to help get them on their feet as they start this or continue their journey of recovery. We also welcome families who are just struggling with an issue of someone that they love to try to help them. Recently, we started our first recovery home where men who need a safe and accountable place to live to continue their recovery is just launched a couple of months ago, and it's been quite successful at attracting people who are willing to live in a place that is safe for them and where they have accountability. They have requirements to be able to stay there, to stay on track with their recovery, and you'll hear more about that. In both of these areas, importantly, we help people find meaningful employment, and that's a critical thing. Most of the people we see have lost everything in their lives. Their condition has caused them to lose family, friends, school, employment, church, etc. So we try to help with each of those elements. One of those most central is trying to get them back on their feet financially and to build a record of reliable employment. So that's been very big to us. We have a number of employer partners who have been very helpful in this. You'll meet the Dillinghams today to talk about what they do, a very inspiring story. Also want to thank Emily, who's been a good partner to us and trying to help find employment for people. Many of our employees or our people we greet have a record of arrest for their drug condition or something related. And so finding employers that help with that is very critical to us. So I'll start out and reintroduce Nathan Walsh. He's the director of the hub, and he'll introduce Ben Beatty when he's finished. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you guys this morning. My name is Nathan Walsh, and as Doug said, I am the director of the ASAP Hub here in Columbus, which is a local recovery resource center. Some things to know about ASAP. We are partially funded by the city and partially funded by the county. So everybody that we work with, whether that is helping get health insurance or getting them employment, getting them into treatment, any of the services that we provide to members of this community are all at no cost to the individuals or their families. So even if it's recovery coaching, we have a recovery coach that's on staff, and if she's working with somebody over a period of time, they never receive a bill for any of the services that we have. So we just have a great relationship with the city. We have a great relationship with the county and with a lot of other organizations in this community. And it's just really been amazing to be a part of this process. So I just want to thank you guys for tuning in today, and hopefully we can dispel some myths and come up with some good ideas of how we can start to work with individuals who are on their recovery journey. So what are the benefits of hiring persons in recovery? And we'll see if I can figure this out. Maybe. Hey, there we go. Okay, so how can individuals be a part of the staffing solutions that you need? The very first part of this is I want to break it down to make it really, really simple. And in order to do that, I want to give you a little context. So again, you heard, I said, my name is Nathan Walsh. My background of getting to this point in my career as the director of the ASAP Hub is, schooling. I went to school. I'm dual degreed with a bachelor's and a master's degree. I'm licensed through the state of Indiana as a licensed mental health counselor. And I am a person who is in long-term recovery. My recovery, let's back up. I come from a long line of alcoholism. I grew up in an Irish Catholic family and started, I believe they started putting whiskey in my bottle when I was teething, right? So it was just something that was normal within my family. To me, it started getting abnormal in high school. I really started trying different things and drinking regularly and using, and it just became a regular occurrence until the part of 1999. I was arrested for my first OWI, or operating while intoxicated. Never been in trouble before, so I didn't find that to be too big of a deal. So I went to court for that, and literally 4 weeks later, I was arrested for a second OWI. So now with my second OWI, I now automatically have a felony on my record. Now, mind you, at this time, I had not gone back to school. I didn't have any degrees. I had just been working. I had been successful working in the restaurant industry and moving up through management and doing other things. So I'd had some success relatively without an education. However, I get a DUI, I lose my driver's license, I have no way to get anywhere, and now I have a felony on my record. Fast forward to 2003, I tried to put some pieces back together. In 2003, I was drinking again and received a third OWI, which is now a second felony. So I've gone from being very successful without, education, just kind of working the grind and moving up and doing things to, okay, I've got nowhere to go. I've got no formal education as a background. I've got no driver's license. And now I've got 2 felonies on my record. My life is over. I'm not going to be able to do much of anything from this point moving forward, is what I thought. And so I continued in the grind of doing things until 2009. And in 2009 is where I had a monumental shift. And I said, you know what, I've got to do something different. I had been let go from my job. I didn't have any money. I literally started volunteering at a church just to give myself something to do and to be around positive people, right? So I go from volunteering at a church to fill my time to, they offered me the position as a custodian at Community Church of Columbus for $8 an hour. I've got 3 kids at home. I'm working for $8 an hour, not able to make any sustainable money. So I decided I've got to get back into school. Well, with that, there are challenges. We overcome those. I end up getting a bachelor's degree. I apply for a master's degree, get into the program, complete my master's. And then there was a whole licensure track that I had to go on. And there were challenges that were associated with that and that I still face on a daily basis because of the felonies that I have, even though the last time I'd been in trouble for an OWI was in 2003. Now, in the meantime, there were other arrests, right? There were public intoxications or a public intoxication with a battery because I had got into a fight with a buddy of mine. If you look at me on paper, there is absolutely zero reason that I should be hireable, right? If you look through my criminal arrests, there's no reason that an employer, a school, the state of Indiana should have taken a chance on a person like me. But one important thing to note is that what is on paper does not define a person, right? It's a moment in their life, a moment of a bad decision, a moment of a disease that is taking control of somebody to the point where they're making decisions that are unhealthy for themselves and for the community. And this is a fantastic opportunity because now I have the opportunity to put my life back together. Well, at ASAP, we work with people through the jail addictions treatment program that was started up, and we have referrals coming from there. We work with different treatment providers. We have referrals coming in from there. So we're working with a ton of people who are at that point in their life that are ready to make a change, that are ready to do something different. So what does that mean when that comes to the hiring process, right? Well, obviously a lot of employers right now are doing background checks, and if people have a felony, it automatically kicks them out of the job pool. And I would say that a lot of us have an implicit bias towards individuals who struggle with substance use disorder. What is an implicit bias? An implicit bias is defined by Harvard education, is a set of beliefs that we hold internally that a lot of times we're not even aware of until they come about, right? So we don't know that we have these biases until they come about. So one of the implicit biases that I would say is, what's the first image that comes to your mind whenever you think of somebody who struggles with amphetamine use disorder, right? I'm sure most of us have seen people who have been using methamphetamines or something along those lines for a long time. And we have a negative implicit bias of what this person has done to themselves, right? And that bias can be true. It comes from somewhere. And then there are a lot of times where the bias is inaccurate because we're judging a person based on a moment in time or on a physical appearance, as opposed to what are the other things that they have done over the course of their lives, right? So how do we overcome these biases that we might face regarding people with substance use disorder? Get to know some people who are in recovery. Recovery and a life of using are two completely different ends of the spectrum, right? Somebody who's in recovery is working a daily program. They're talking to a sponsor. They are working through all of their character defects. They're in some type of treatment program. They're doing things to help themselves become the best person that they can be, because they know if they go back to using, that everything is going to be gone. It's just a matter of time, right? So getting to know some people that are in recovery and understanding the things that they're putting in place can really help us to understand the addictive process and what happens on a chemical level in our brains whenever we are actually engaged in using substances. So, continuing on from that, I did briefly mention that we work with the Jail Addictions Treatment Program. So, we're blessed in Bartholomew County that we have a jail addictions treatment program. We have a Realm program, which is Recovery Enables a Life for Men. We have a RAP, which is Women Recovering with a Purpose. All through the jail, right? So they're getting treatment pumped into their head while they're incarcerated, and then they get out and they have a direct referral to the ASAP hub. So as soon as they come in, they're looking for housing, they're looking for employment, they're looking for those next steps to put the pieces of their life back together. Recovery meetings, recovery coaches, and we try and combine all of those things to people to give them the best shot at being successful for a long period of time. Along with that, the problem-solving courts, ASAP is in all three problem-solving courts: adult drug court, family recovery court, and veterans court. And along with those courts, they have a core team of people that are working with them to give them the best shot at long-term recovery. So they have lots of requirements. And some of those one of those requirements is that people need to gain gainful employment, right? They've got court fees they've got to pay. They've got other things they've got to do. They've got to have money for bills and all of those other things. So part of that program is getting people employed. Now, what we're finding is that a lot of times these jobs aren't sustainable. At $8 an hour, if you have a family, or even if you don't, a lot of times that lower wage becomes a barrier to me being successful in my recovery, because I simply can't get enough money to pay my bills. And if I can't have enough money, then ultimately I go back to the lifestyle that I once knew, because even though it was unsuccessful, it at least provided me some respite from the daily struggles that I'm faced with. So what we recommend to employers, and what companies like Ditech have done a fantastic job of, is saying, hey, your recovery's got to come first. If you have court, if you have meetings, if you have other things, we are going to work with you to make sure that you can get all of those things taken care of, right? Because when I can do that, now I can come into work and I can focus. And if you give somebody a chance, somebody like me, who, worked as a janitor at Community Church of Columbus. Now that I have a master's degree, I still do counseling through the church, and we're at 12 years later, because I'm loyal to them, because they gave me an opportunity. Those are some of the best people that I've ever been around. And it is about me helping individuals who are struggling, but it's also about me giving back and me working my recovery program. And part of what keeps me sober today is by working with other individuals who are struggling with substance use disorder. And those people, if they can make a living while employed with you, and you're willing to give them a shot and you're willing to work with them on their recovery, these are going to be some of the most loyal employees that you can have. And I just want to encourage you that to take a chance. By taking a chance, you can do some things creatively with accountability, with random drug screens, or other, cautionary items set in place. And I know I'm running out of time, probably over. So if you're curious about any of those programs or how you could get those set up within your business, I would be more than happy to help get those set up. And then finally, if you have any questions, if you have people that you need or that you believe need help, you can send them to the ASAP Hub. This is a website. On this website, it has all of our information on it, all of our services. We do have somebody on it live on the chat line Monday through Friday during normal business hours. So that's a whole lot of information in a short amount of time. And now I got to kick it over to Ben and let him tell you a little bit about recovery housing.
Thank you, Nathan.
Absolutely.
Will Ben be using these slides? I see he will.
Yes.
Okay. So Ben Beatty, Recovery Housing Operations Manager for ASAP.
Thank you,
Take it
Cindy.
away.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Nathan. Real excited to be here with everybody today to talk about recovery housing in general and specifically about ASAP sober living and how that might affect your business. As I said, I am the Recovery Housing Operations Manager for ASAP Sober Living, and I'm also a person in long-term recovery. And I'm not going to share my full story like Nathan did, but mine is very similar. I'm a convicted drug felon in Bartholomew County. I came to a place in my life where I voluntarily had to make a choice to change. And I sought treatment and then lived in a recovery residence for about 15 months after that. And so through that process of healing and recovery, somewhere along the line, somebody was willing to give me a second chance, and it's something I'm very grateful for. So a little bit about recovery housing in Bartholomew County. I think, a good point to start with is just the growth that we're experiencing. A year ago, there were 0 recovery homes in Bartholomew County, and today we have 8 different recovery residences serving a maximum of 72 beds within those 8 facilities, and that number is on the way to 90 beds in the near future. ASAP Sober Living will be adding another men's recovery residence within the next 30 to 60 days. We're actively pursuing opening a women's facility very soon, and also a mommy and me or women with small children facility in the near future as well. So again, that'll be going to 90 people within recovery residences in Bartholomew County from 0 as of a year ago. And the question I get a lot of times is, why so many different recovery residences? And I think that the best answer is that people recover differently. So, not all the recovery homes in the community are the same. They all have different housing models. They have different levels on the recovery housing spectrum. So in Bartholomew County, that's starts off at a 3.5 level, which is more of a treatment and partial hospitalization with the Fresh Start Recovery Center. That's for women and small children. And then that drops down to the other end of the spectrum at a level 1, which is a more peer-driven democratic model with little accountability and no supervision. It's just all peer run. Where ASAP Sober Living falls out on that spectrum is at a level 2. And what that means is that we have a house manager, a live-in house manager for our supervision. So he is also a person in long-term recovery. He spent 2 years in a sober living facility with a model very similar to ours. And he's just an excellent model and resource for our program participants. Also want to touch on, the different models within the community. So I mentioned, there's partial hospitalization or treatment. at the higher levels, and then that drops down. We're more of a 12-step based model. And then there are also a lot of faith-based models in the community. So again, people recover differently. They have different needs. And so, it's very important for the individual to find the recovery residence that is right for them. I'm going to talk a little bit about Nars Certification. That's the National Association of Recovery Residences. And ASAP Sober Living is a Nars certified recovery residence. Not all recovery residences in the community are Nars certified, but that was an important decision for us to make, and I'll explain why. Nars certification is the nationwide standard for best practices in recovery housing. It means that there has been an independent review board that has viewed our facility and our policies and determined that the facility is safe, illicit substance free, and a home-like environment. NAR places capacity standards such as individuals per home, amount of bathrooms, sinks, showers, and toilets, and adequate common areas based on home size. NAR provides trainings and assistance to certified operators and updates to homes on how to deal with complex issues such as COVID-19. And NAR also advocates for the individual in recovery and not the recovery resident. So certification means that community stakeholders can have confidence in referring to these facilities. So again, ASAP Sober Living is a NAR certified level 2 home, 12-step based program. And, it leads into why would somebody that's a program participant at ASAP Sober Living, why would they be a good long-term investment for your organization? And I think it goes back to that these people are making a voluntary choice to change their life. Our program participants our ideal program participant has already done a 30 to 60 day stay in a inpatient residential facility before they come to us, and then they're seeking that structure and accountability that we offer them to kind of teach them that sober lifestyle. People that are suffering from substance use disorder, they don't know how to live sober. And so we provide that environment, that safe and structured environment for them to do that in. We require that our program participants go to 5 12-step meetings a week. We require that they get a sponsor within that 12-step fellowship community, and we require that they engage in the 12-step recovery process. We also have a curfew. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. It kind of requires people to work on a first shift schedule for us. Our curfew's at 10 p.m. through the week and 11 p.m. on the weekends. And then we also have random drug testing at our facility. So every 3 to 5 days, our program participants voluntarily have to submit to a drug screen. We're a zero tolerance abstinence based facility. So anybody that's found to be in use of illicit substances is discharged from the program. So I see I'm being moved along here due to time, it looks like. So anyway, how can we work together on this? Some of our employment partners that we work with, they may request a release of information so we can communicate openly about our program participants with the employer. So that's something that, it's not a standard practice for us, but if you do request that, we're happy to do that. And, it's just a nice extra measure of accountability for everyone. As part of our program, our program participants are subject to a lot of case management. They have recovery coaching. There's community meetings, and in all these aspects, they're going to be, we're going to be talking about employment with them. Of course, we're going to be talking about treatment and recovery with them too. But how's your job going? Have you found a job? Do you need help finding a job? And we're trying to foster an environment of responsibility and open communication where some of these people maybe, they've kind of bounced from job to job and they don't leave a notice, when they leave. We want them to communicate openly, learn to communicate openly with their employers. And if they did decide to leave and change jobs, that they would, give you a timely notice that they were doing that. So Nathan kind of touched on the loyalty aspect. Most of these people have burnt their lives to the ground before they come to us, and they don't have any family and social support. Maybe they're involved in the criminal justice system, and they're just looking for somebody to give them a second chance. Like Nathan said, if somebody is to give them that second chance, that they're going to be some of the most loyal employers employees that you have. We have different, our program participants have different skills when they come to us, but we find a lot of them are, already have skills and experience in like manufacturing, HVAC, electrical, plumbing. They've had careers before. They've had good work records. So some of them are looking, to put those skills to use, and looking for a career position. We also are going to have people that are looking for more entry level positions. Go to the next slide. So some of the challenges we face, and DITEC will talk a little bit more about this and how they navigate this. I think probably for us, the biggest one to talk about is transportation. Most of our program participants, I would say 80% probably do not have their own transportation. So DITEC has actually come up with a solution for that I will let them talk about, but it's been very beneficial. As Nathan mentioned, some people are still involved in the criminal justice system, so they're going to need some flexibility with going to court or probation appointments. Some of our program participants are going to still be involved in treatment in some aspects. So, some will require a little bit more flexibility than others as far as continuing their treatment. There is a curfew at our facility, like I mentioned before, so it kind of limits our guys to a first shift position, or maybe some creative split shift solutions that have been worked out. But they have to be home by 10 o'clock through the week and 11 o'clock on the weekends. So that leads us to our contact information at the ASAP hub. We have the entire staff there in the different areas that we focus in. Nathan Walsh, of course, that spoke earlier, is on there. Myself, Ben Beatty, and we're happy to help in any way we can. You can contact us at any time. And we can talk about how we can form a partnership, or what partnerships that we already have currently look like, and just excited about the opportunity for our program participants and your organization. And that'll lead us into DITEC there. They have a lot of experience. They're one of our best partners for employment, and they can give you all the information you need about what that looks like for their organization.
Thank you, Ben. And thank you, Nathan. Thanks for your honesty and just being so willing to tell your own stories and be shining examples of two people in recovery who are outstanding employees. Thanks for modeling that for us. We do want to turn our attention to DITEC, who employs many individuals who need another chance. So we have Tim Dillingham, who's an owner and general manager, and Emily Phelps, human resources manager from DITEC. And can I take these slides down, ASAP friends? Go ahead and pull the slides down and turn it over to Tim. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about our story and express our sincere thanks to ASAP and all their team, and you, Cindy, for the Chamber as well for putting this together. To be honest, we're humbled to be here. I don't think we consider ourselves doing anything different than anyone else. It's just a part of our fabric. And so I would just state at the beginning, we don't consider ourselves doing anything fantastic, but we have discovered ourselves in this place, and we kind of stumbled onto it because of a need. Quite frankly, I don't want to cast this as we had some grand idea, but we were seeing a need, as Cindy expressed, with employment levels very high and workforce very low several years ago. But in our fabric as Ditech, we've always been encouraged to reach out to those who may need an extra help. And let me give you my job here. I'm a talker, so I'm going to try to stick to the script. But Ditech has been in business 28 or so years. We're a privately held company. We're actually family owned. I'm one of the members on the leadership team here. And we're a tier 2 automotive supplier. And we supply automotive exhaust components typically. And so that's what we do to make our living. We're a little over, we oscillate between 100 and 130 employees. We're a 3-shift operation with 2 facilities here in the northern part of Bartholomew County, or the Edinburgh area. One of the things that Ditech is, and this is for, kind of sound a little bit technical, our mission statement says that we provide flexible solutions, and I want to key in on that, to our customers, which leverage our entrepreneurial spirit. And then, and finally, it brings glory to God. We are not ashamed about our faith perspective. We don't ask anybody to ascribe to that. But if you want to know where some of this comes from, we believe that grace has been given to us or extended to us. And therefore, it's a good practice, if something not required from us, to exhibit that kind of grace to others. And so that's kind of where the motivation comes from. And we've began this journey. Emily, to be honest with you, is the one that kind of made it and connected the dots with ASAP, with Problem Solving Court, and has taken us to the next level in our relationship. But one of the things I would say is I would just echo Nathan, and Ben's comments to all employers. A couple of things. The folks that we find on our team are very important to us, and they come many times with a high skill level. We've actually had an Ivy League graduate as part of our team here. The other thing that we discovered is we need to be a part of their transition and in their journey to recovery, or to a healthy living, is like what we like to say. So that's going to look different. What we're finding, we're not experts, but what we're finding is a man or woman may come in and they just need a safe place. And so they really covet that entry level position. They don't want to think. They want to do a job, go home, have no stress, no drama in their life, because their life has been full of drama up to this point. And so we provide that. However, we try to mine this talent because we want people to stay here long term, and we have some success with that. And I think the way that we come to that is really with a mindset, and we're not always good at it, and we struggle and we fall as well. But the mindset is a couple of things. First, what we began talking about is we aren't focused on their past. Their past is their past. They know their past. But what is important, and sometimes this gets said, sometimes a little bit casually and sometimes very strictly or sternly. But what we are concerned about is when you walk in our doors, we want to know where you're going. We want to be a part of your future, and we want you a part of our future. So again, we don't make any pretense about, we understand where they've been. So we just kind of say that up front. Look, we know where you're coming from. So let's put our best foot forward. Let's do something. So I think with that mindset shift of not focusing on the past, but focusing on the future, where they're going. And the other thing is, and Cindy and I had this conversation previously, is I don't see that they're leaving as a turnover issue. I don't see that as employee turnover. What we see that is actually a successful completion. And so if someone comes in, and we've had to get our mind wrapped around this, and this is very difficult to do as an employer, because you're wanting to reduce employee turnover because of all the cost associated with that. But we're trying to transition into an investment mentality. We really want to see that when they come in and leave, especially if they've got a better job, they've re-entered a previous career path or whatever it may be. Sometimes our folks transition back to maybe a hometown or another community. We see that as a really as a successful thing, and we try to celebrate that. If nothing else, just shaking their hand and saying, congratulations, good job, you've done us a good job, thank you very much, and we wish you the best and pray for God's blessings as you leave us. And so that's kind of where we're at. I think we'll may do this a little bit as a conversation, but I'll let Emily kind of get down into the more detailed tactical things from our perspective.
Yeah, so Tim kind of covered a lot of my things that I wanted to share, which is great. I mean, no, it's good. You did it. So yeah, for us, this is not something that just started last year. This has actually been something that we have been investing in and really kind of taken seeing the need and trying to meeting that need. About 5 to 6 years ago, it kind of started with a Progress House in Marion County. We had someone here who knew people in that facility, and they needed a job. But what we were finding is that the struggle is they didn't have a way to get to work and then get back. And so we started providing transportation, and we started to recognize that not only did that meet their need to get to work, but it also met our need to get them here to actually do the job. And that kind of expanded then with Johnson County work release. We started doing that as well, seeing that those individuals were having a hard time finding employment. So we would offer whatever shift worked well with their schedule, and then being able to provide that transportation for them. And so we've tried really hard to be very intentional about being invested for them and caring for them. We do recognize that this is more than just a job. This is their life. And so we truly do try to go beyond in a capacity that we can. And so, before, obviously everything's pre-COVID. So pre-COVID onboarding for us looked a little different. We would actually bring those individuals in for half of the day. It could be upwards of 3 to 4 hours. We would have a gentleman who would actually not only go over their paperwork and the necessities that we needed for them to actually start the job, but he would get to talk to them, get to hear their story, get to know where they came from, where they want to be, what they're kind of, in a cliche way, what their hopes and dreams are, kind of where they've been, and what the future looks like for them. And so now with COVID restrictions, we've kind of had to shorten that to where we still are really trying to make a relational connection with them, but recognizing that life already gives us quite a few hurdles that we need to jump over. So our hope is to take away some hurdles of actually finding employment, trying to make it as easy as possible. We know that we have positions to be filled, and we also know that people need a job to live their life. They need that income. And so when the relationship with ASAP had started, it has been a huge blessing for us, because they have people come in and they say, like you had said before, Nathan, we have people who need jobs, and all we need them to do is submit an application to us. I don't care what it has on there with what their past history is. I just need to know what shift you want to work. You want to work first, second, or third. And if we have that open, then we'll put them in that position. And so we know that if some of those applications come in that are more labeled with ASAP or work release, or with drug court, things like that, we know that those are going to be handled a little uniquely than the other ones, and that we will make sure to make that connection of knowing what their needs are, if that is transportation, if they have court dates that they need to attend to, knowing that there's flexibility there. And like Tim had said, a DITEC's core value is flexibility, and we want that to be implemented into their lives here as they're a team member of ours. And so, like I said, knowing that their schedule is not going to look like the other, other individuals out here who can do the normal, 8-hour shift. We know that some people may need to leave early because they have appointments or celebrate recovery classes. And for us, I know other employers, they would say, okay, well, that's a point because you're missing. And we were like, nope, that's not a point, because these people are making strides, leaps and bounds to get their life back on track. So why not support them in that endeavor? The other thing too is, like Ben had said as well, and it was funny because as I was hearing you guys talk, I'm like, wow, this is everything that we do as a company. But recognizing communication is key. And so for me, as someone, as the HR manager who's hiring these individuals, when I go to, I first speak with them, I touch base with them, and then they get an email with everything, kind of like, if you need transportation, here's where you need to go, here's what the schedule looks like, to make sure they're fully prepared and aware of what needs to happen when they get here. But then also too, I then transition into telling team leaders, hey, here's the individuals that we're hiring. And I share with them, they may be coming from, ASAP Sober Living Home, or they may be currently in work release. So things are going to look a little differently. And I think for us, the success of DITEC is that we've had a handful of individuals who have been those great stories of, they were there, and here now we have people who have moved up to become team leaders. I shared with Cindy the other day that we also had someone who, she was a nurse, and she had lost everything from substance abuse, and had lost her child, and things like that. So she came working here for us. She moved her way up in the ladder, and then just last year she came to us and she said, my goal was to get my nursing license back, and I did it, and that's where I'm going to go. And for us, I mean, yes, it was a bittersweet goodbye, but we're like, wow, like, yes, she did the hard work, but knowing that we were able to provide her with that consistent income, that job, and she was going to celebrate recovery at ASAP, even just up until she left. And those are the things that we see, that we're like, we're investing and we want to continue to do this. So when I share with team leaders, hey, this person, this is kind of what their story is. One team leader in particular, he dealt with that himself. And so there's been times where he's had an employee who was struggling. And we say to them, don't be afraid to go tell your team leader if there's an issue, if you are struggling, if you're having, problems, and we want to support and encourage you and do what we can on our end to help you. And then also too, we've also had people that we've celebrated, if they want to, we celebrate, where they are in recovery as a company as a whole, posting things on boards outside. We have little information boards, and being able to share and kind of rejoice, kind of like in a family, creating that environment that like, hey, you did this, and we're going to continue to support you and encourage you. The other thing too, which is kind of funny, is I say we make getting fired pretty hard around here. There really is not a lot that you can do to get fired. And Tim was kind of pointing on our turnover rate. And the truth is, if you look at turnover, job abandonment, so people who just stop showing up, is a lot higher than those who actually get terminated. And so people may think we're crazy by doing that, but we just recognize that there are things in life that are hard, and everyone has those struggles. If you have children, if your child's sick and things like that. So we just know we're going to do all that we can on our end, and we hope that you do the same. The other thing too is just a safe environment. And like I had said before, making sure we do this as a team. It's not just one person. It's not just one team leader. It's people in the office. It's the team leaders who are with those people 8 hours a day, knowing that we do want this to be an environment where it's safe and it's supportive. And so if we have team members who come and say, hey, third shift really isn't working for me, or hey, I actually know this person from my past, and I don't know if I can come and do this every day. And so good thing for us, we can either be like, okay, let's switch you to a different shift, or you know what, let's get you down to our other facility. We have 2 facilities, and working with them, recognizing that if it's a struggle for them, how can we change that to continue to help support them? But it really has, like Nathan and Ben were saying, these individuals can and have been the most loyal employees that we have. And we're grateful for that. And we're, like Tim said, we are so not perfect in how we do things. We're still figuring it out. But we recognize that there are needs, whether that's in-house recovery here, if it's transportation, if it's housing, to kind of navigate that. And it's been a true blessing for us to create those and develop those relationships with ASAP and other areas in town, to be able to where if we can't fill that need, then we can call somebody else and say, hey, can you do this for them? And just kind of working all together to make sure these people can, these individuals can get their life back on track like they hope. So.
I'm just going to conclude with Emily a couple of things. First of all, I just want to recognize that this was a shift for us because we have to make, quote, widgets every hour because there's a truck coming. And in events or in manufacturing world, the things that we've talked about, I'm old enough that this was not even something that you would even fathom to do 5 years ago, 10 years ago, for goodness sakes, when I started. But they can be done. They really can be done. I was the first to say, if they can't be here all the time, I don't want them. And those kind of comments. And that's really just kind of nonsense. And so the truth is, even if you're a manufacturing, or it doesn't really matter. These are things that you can overcome if you want to. What they say, necessity is the mother of all invention. And we had a necessity. And so we started creating. The other thing that this is now, we've talked about this several times, and I just want to be frank and authentic and transparent here. This is what really an employer should be doing to all their employees. And these are the kind of traits that I think people want to work for. And when I hear Emily recalling what we should be doing, I'm like, it's just common sense. It's just what we should be doing. I'm talking about Ditech. I don't know about anybody else on the call, but these are just good common business practices about investing in people and trying to do what I think Ben said, best practices. And it does work. There's some frustration. I think that the team on the call today is helping us identify, because to be quite frank, if I was in their situation, it would be frustrating to me, because staying sober and work in the system, the court system, the criminal justice system, it is not built to provide recovery and healthy living at the current state. That's not an indictment. We have a phenomenal judicial system in our county, phenomenal. And so I'm on their team, but we have a lot of work to do. And I guess the thing I would just add last is, with my own wife, we've had this discussion, and I shared this with Cindy, and it's kind of like, why would you do this? And everybody says, not me, not my company, not my backyard. But the question is, who is going to say, okay, me? Who's going to give folks a chance? And if it's not you, then who? And if it's not now, then when? And so that would be my, and honestly, I think together, I'd like to see, people take this and just blow us away from what we're doing, because I think as we get better together as a community, it makes us just a better place to live, work, and play. And so that's what we're after. And again, I want to kind of conclude by just saying thank you so much. We're humbled, because it's pretty emotional. But I have to tell you that if you find the who and they get a passion, it becomes pretty easy. And so if this isn't your who, or if this is not your what, there are things. And I think business has an opportunity now more than ever to be a part of society's solutions, not problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Emily. Inspiring words, and also practical, right? Because it's a creative approach to solving your employment needs, getting those widgets on the truck, as you said. We do have a couple of minutes for some question and answer, not only of Tim and Emily, but Nathan and Ben, or any of the ASAP team. So if you have a question, unmute yourself or put it in the chat, and I will share it with our presenters. Any questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. I'm just curious, like, how do you guys run your transportation program? Like, what's the ins and outs of that? I'm just curious.
Can you unmute?
Yeah, it's so we now just see as part of it. And I was talking to Cindy about this prior. We've invested in some vehicles. So we have a van, and we have drivers, approved company drivers on our insurance. And what we have found very helpful is we have a common spot or spots in Columbus, and with common times. So it's kind of like a bus route, if you will. And so we do that. We did that in Marion County as well. And so, and it's added to some of our folks' job descriptions. Our team leaders on first shift will, and then honestly on second, it's part of their job description. So they have to be willing, but that's kind of how we've worked it out now. We used to just have dedicated drivers, and that gets kind of expensive, to be quite frank. But if someone else doesn't want to be on, to invest, I thought about this. There was a time we couldn't have a van or a driver. But what we do, and we encourage our team leaders, is just coordinate with others. Somebody's got a car, but sometimes they just don't have the clearinghouse. And it's amazing when one of our team leaders goes and says, "Hey, Bill, could you give John a ride? He lives 3 blocks from you." That's an easy way to do that. And we've not had a lot of trouble with that. So but right now we've invested. We have a couple of vans, we have drivers or driver. And so that's the way we do it.
Yeah, and it's for 3 shifts, and it was there for a while. It was mainly just those who were maybe coming from work release. And so what we found, though, that wasn't just the only people who needed rides. And so I do say to them in the first initial contact when I offer them a position is, if you need a ride, then here's kind of where our central locations are. If you can get to that by this time, then we'll be happy to take you to work.
One of the nice places to do it is in Columbus, at least, is the hub. The ASAP hub is a very nice place and the folks that we happen to be talking about are familiar with the facility and the location as well.
A lot of employers express that challenge with transportation, don't they? I know, Emily, we've talked about that as well. What other questions do you have for any of our presenters today? Ben, I have a question for you. Are folks who live in the recovery housing required to have jobs? Or at what level are they required to work?
Yes, they are. I kind of got hurried through that part. I'm glad you asked that question. Part of our program requirements is reintegration into the workforce. So we require a minimum of 32 hours a week of productivity. We do count their treatment encounters in that 32 hours. But we have people with different needs. So, some of our people will need full-time employment, and some of them will need part-time employment, but it is a requirement for our program.
Great. So there's that built-in accountability.
Exactly.
Just 10 seconds. Ben, I want to echo, I'm an old man, so I'll give you an old man perspective. I can tell you that anecdotally, when I see someone working a job, they almost typically are also working the program and getting healthy. They seem to almost completely go hand in hand. So that, at least anecdotally, work is a great tool for all of us. But I'm an old guy.
No, I agree with you absolutely. That's why I think it's important for the release of information. Typically, if something's going on in the workplace, there's probably some issues that with our program as well, and it's nice to be able to have that open line of communication. And just to echo what you said, somebody that's really working the program, they're all in. They're as we say, they're seeking the solution with the desperation of a drowning man, and part of that is employment. So I would agree with you totally.
Awesome. Listen, it's almost 11 o'clock. Our hour is almost up. I just want to wrap up by thanking all of our presenters, Doug, Nathan, Ben, Tim, and Emily. I want to thank Emily Bogue and our partners at Express Employment, and just remind you that we are doing 8 sessions in 8 days around talent. And we have 2 more this week. Tomorrow we'll be on Zoom at 9 a.m. with a professional coach doing 3 interactive activities around mindfulness. And then Friday at 10 a.m., we have our new Columbus Talent Attraction Toolkit, a video, a website, and I will be sharing that with employers, teaching them how to use it. And our friends from Toyota Material Handling will be talking about how they use those tools to attract top talent. So thank you all for being here, and join us at one of our other sessions. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye all.